What's going on? Welcome. Thank you for dropping on by. I hope your day is going pretty well. Before we get started, I'd like to ask if you guys could help me out and hit that subscribe button. It really does a lot to help me out. Drop a like, drop a comment, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell so you're kept up to date on everything we got going on here. If you're here, that means you enjoy motorcycles and motorcycle content just as much as I do, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. So for this video, I decided to do a voiceover because my original audio did not record. Anyway, this is my 2021 Yamaha R3, and boy oh boy, I love it. A little bit about myself first. I am somewhat of a beginner rider, so I figured I could give you my thoughts and impressions on this bike from the point of view of a beginner rider. So my motorcycling experience started when I was younger, and I grew up riding dirt bikes. I started on a a Yamaha Trail 90, then a Trail 125, and then finally a YZ85. Yamaha has definitely been one of my favorites of the big four, if not my number one favorite. Not really for any reason though, I just really like the way they look and the way they ride. Before I bought a motorcycle though, I started watching a bunch of YouTube videos from other more experienced riders, and I tried to take in as much information and as much content as I could. In doing that, I got myself trapped into comparing all the specs on all sorts of bikes because obviously I had to make the best decision. It's my money, and I obviously had to make the best choice and make the best purchase, right? Essentially what I'm trying to say is for a short while, I became an intense spec sheet warrior. I've since recovered, thankfully. So when I decided to finally get a street bike, I was looking around for a while and I narrowed it down to an R3, a Ninja 400, and a Sportster. Say what you want about Harleys, but I love Harleys. My dad had one when we were growing up. They just look so classic. They got a bunch of history. It's an American brand, but I know. They're heavy and they're slow. I think for me, it's the nostalgia I like. They're a modern classic, and they've always been. And they've been making mostly the same kind of bike forever, and I just really like that classic looking vibe, kind of like Triumphs. Triumphs have a bunch of newer bikes, but they're Bonnevilles and bikes like that, the T100. They're modern classics. However, my wallet definitely could not afford one at the moment. Then I was dead set on the Ninja for the longest time because I figured it was the most bang for buck, but the front end to me looks weird. It just looks a little off. Don't get me wrong, it's a great looking bike and it's got great performance for a beginner bike, but for me, I found the looks of the R3 more appealing. And motorcyclists are vain, so I chose what looked better. I was then toying around with the idea of a Yamaha MT-07, a Honda CBR 650R, or a Triumph Trident 660. I wanted something with a bit more power, but I couldn't find any in my area that weren't like really beat up or crazy expensive with how the used bike market is at the moment. So I got a bit more realistic with myself because this was going to be my first bike, and I would have been way more upset dropping one of those bikes versus this R3. So then I stumbled on this bike online and bought it with about 1,000 miles on it, and let me tell you, it has been a dream. It came with this Aquapovic slip-on exhaust, which definitely sounds nicer than the stock one, but still sounds like putting an exhaust in your dad's John Deere. It doesn't sound good necessarily, but it sounds better. I love the way this bike looks, and it's pretty comfortable, minus the leather-wrapped plywood Yamaha considers a seat. It goes down the road great, it does all the things, but I still wish I got something with a bit more power because I already have some experience from riding the dirt. That being said though, it's totally adequate for what I use it for. I just like going for weekend cruises, and it does that no issue. I'm not going to get into the specs at the moment. For now, I just want to talk about the way the bike feels. You definitely do not need to put a crazy amount of thought into your first bike. If you have no frame of reference for a street bike, then they will all feel just about great. If your only experience is your mom's Toyota Camry, then the answer is no. You cannot handle a new Yamaha MT-09. I've been riding this R3 around for a little bit now, and I've noticed it tends to feel a bit buzzy higher in the RPMs. But once you switch into the next gear, it's totally fine. And I'm not talking, I'm holding it at red line and it feels buzzy. Around like 8,000 or 9,000 RPM, it just starts to feel, you can feel it buzzing away. I also feel like I fit pretty well on this bike. I'm about 5'9" and have no issue swinging a leg over the bike. I'm not too sure what my inseam is, but I do know I've got pretty short legs. However, I don't really feel like I have any issues coming to a stop and flat-footing the bike. As a whole, the R3 is so approachable and forgiving, it doesn't make me feel like I would get into any trouble on it. Since it's such a small displacement bike with low horsepower and low torque, you can't really make a mistake giving it too much throttle to the point where it would get away from you. It's an R3. It doesn't go anywhere fast. Seriously, you could smack the throttle wide open with virtually no issue. As a beginner, I feel like it handles pretty nicely, and it's a ton of fun to whip around a twistier section of road. At the end of the day, any beginner bike will be a good first bike. As long as you like what you're on, who cares what anybody else thinks? Motorcycles are fun, get on a bike and start riding. Thank you again for watching. There will be more to come, and if you've made it this far into the video, I would love it if you could drop a like, drop a comment, and hit that subscribe button. It's free for you to do, and it helps me immensely to be able to grow the channel. Until next time, ride safe.